First Contact Protocol. The UNSS Thunderchild cut through the void like a predator through dark waters, its matte black hull absorbing nearby starlight rather than reflecting it. Within its command center, Captain Maya Rice stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the tactical display where a dozen unknown vessels had appeared at the edge of the Arcturus system. "Report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. Lieutenant Commander Jackson's fingers danced across his console. "Unknown configuration, Captain. Definitely not Centauri or Proxima design. Power signatures suggest advanced propulsion, but nothing we can't match. They're maintaining formation at the system's edge." First contact scenario, Maya said, almost to herself. Humanity had encountered 3 spacefaring species in the 50 years since achieving FTL travel, but this would be her first time initiating contact protocols. Alert Admiral Cato. Prepare the linguistic package and universal greeting. Weapons on standby, but power down targeting systems. Yes, Captain. The Thunderchild was officially classified as an exploration vessel, but anyone with half a brain could see through that diplomatic fiction. 2 kilometers of advanced alloys, quantum-entangled defensive systems, and enough firepower to glass a small moon didn't exactly scream, "We come in peace." But humanity had learned harsh lessons in its early days of interstellar expansion. The universe was vast, ancient, and rarely welcoming. "They're moving, Captain," Jackson reported. "Formation is breaking, spreading out. Tactical suggests they're establishing a containment perimeter." Maya frowned. "They're boxing us in before we've even said hello." "That's not encouraging. Incoming transmission. Wideband, multiple frequencies. Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled with a harsh, clicking language before their AI translator, Ariel, began to overlay an eerily smooth synthetic voice. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered territory claimed by the Voth hierarchy. Maintain your position and prepare for inspection. Any sudden maneuvers will be interpreted as hostile action." Maya's eyebrow rose. No introduction, no exchange of cultural information, just immediate demands. She nodded to Communications Officer Lai. "This is Captain Maya Rise of the United Nations, Stellar Ship Thunderchild. We are on a peaceful exploration mission, and we're unaware this system was claimed territory. We welcome diplomatic exchange and offer greetings on behalf of humanity." A brief pause followed before the alien response came. "Your designation is noted. Your vessel will power down primary systems and prepare for boarding. The hierarchy will determine your species' technological development and assign appropriate protectorate status." Murmurs spread across the bridge. "Protectorate status?" Maya's jaw tightened. "I'm afraid that won't be possible," she replied, keeping her tone diplomatic but firm. "Under United Nations Space Command protocols, we cannot allow unauthorized boarding of our vessel. However, we are prepared to establish a neutral meeting point for proper diplomatic exchange." Another pause, longer this time. Maya could almost imagine the aliens conferring, discussing how to handle this unexpected resistance to their authority. "Your cooperation is not optional. The Voth hierarchy has maintained galactic stability for 12,000 years through proper hierarchical assignment of developing species. Your vessel's configuration suggests mid-level technological achievement. Compliance will ensure favorable classification." Commander Erickson, her XO, approached and spoke quietly. "They're scanning us, Captain. Passive sensors only so far, but they're probing our hull composition." Maya nodded slightly. "Let them look. Outer hull only." The aliens, the Voth, were making a fundamental error that many species did when encountering humanity for the first time. They were assuming that technological advancement followed a linear, predictable path. That spacecraft design, weapons development, and cultural evolution all proceeded according to some universal template. That mistake had cost the first alien aggressors dearly. Perhaps a demonstration of good faith would help establish mutual respect, Maya offered. "We're transmitting basic cultural and scientific information now. Nothing classified, but enough to facilitate understanding. The data package contained carefully selected information: Earth's location obscured by false coordinates, sanitized human history, basic scientific principles that were already widely known throughout explored space, standard first contact procedure. Your data is being analyzed. The Voth representative responded. Preliminary assessment suggests anomalous development patterns. Your species advanced from atmospheric flight to apparent FTL capability in an unusually compressed timeframe. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Humans tend to develop quickly once we set our minds to something. This acceleration is concerning. The hierarchy must perform a comprehensive assessment of your capabilities to determine potential destabilizing influence. Before Maya could respond, Tactical Officer Kwan's voice cut through, urgent but controlled. "Captain, they've launched devices toward us. Small, stealthy, but our quantum sensors are picking them up. Drone configuration, likely advanced scanning technology." Maya's expression hardened. So much for diplomacy. Raise inner shields, but keep it subtle. Let one of their devices through the outer perimeter. I want them to get just enough of a look to understand what they're dealing with. "Captain," Commander Erickson questioned. Maya's dark eyes gleamed. "Sometimes the only way to earn respect is to establish boundaries, Commander. Let's give our new friends a carefully controlled peek under the hood." On her command, the Thunderchild's outermost defensive layer, little more than a sensor grid, allowed a single Voth scanning probe to penetrate. As it approached the second layer of defenses, the ship's AI precisely manipulated the shield harmonics, creating a momentary window just large enough for the probe to scan a portion of their secondary weapons array. "Probe is active, transmitting data back to the Voth fleet," reported Lieutenant Kwan. "Now we wait," Maya said, settling into her command chair. "Let's see how they react when they discover that the sheep has teeth." It didn't take long. The Voth communication channel erupted with what the translator interpreted as confusion and alarm. "Thunderchild, explain these readings immediately. Your vessel contains prohibited military technology. Energy signatures exceed Category 7 classification. I apologize for the confusion," Maya replied calmly. "As I mentioned, we would have preferred proper diplomatic channels for information exchange. Your unauthorized scanning probe may have misinterpreted some of our standard systems." Standard systems. The Voth voice had lost its commanding tone, replaced by something closer to disbelief. "Your power core exceeds anything in our database, and those are not defensive weapons. They are planet killers." Maya leaned forward slightly. "Perhaps now we can discuss proper diplomatic relations as equals. We remain committed to peaceful exchange, but we will not be boarded, inspected, or classified without consent. Is that understood?" The silence that followed stretched for nearly a minute before the Voth responded, their translator struggling to convey the complex emotional overtones in their reply. "The hierarchy acknowledges your position. We request direct communication with your highest authority to discuss this unprecedented situation." Maya nodded to herself. Now they were getting somewhere. "I am authorized to initiate preliminary diplomatic protocols. Shall we begin with a proper exchange of information, one that doesn't involve unauthorized scans of each other's vessels?" As the Voth agreed to her terms, Maya couldn't help but wonder what they would think if they discovered the truth, that the weapons they'd detected were merely the Thunderchild's tertiary defense systems, a fraction of the vessel's true capabilities. Humanity had emerged from its cradle as warriors, evolved through conflict, and reached the stars not through harmonious cooperation, but through the crucible of competition and survival. The peaceful exploration mission was genuine. But so was humanity's determination never again to be vulnerable, never to be colonized, never to be subjugated. The Voth had just learned an important lesson about humanity, one that every species eventually discovered: underestimate humans at your peril. Technological revelation. Admiral Zex Thrall of the Voth hierarchy paced the command chamber of his flagship, the living glory, his taloned feet clicking against the biomechanical floor that pulsed with each step. The chamber's walls, a seamless blend of grown crystal and neural tissue, displayed multiple holographic renderings of the human vessel. Impossible, he chittered, his dorsal spines flaring with agitation. Run the analysis again. Chief Science Officer Nith Vera's tendrils rippled with anxiety. We've verified the readings 12 times, Admiral. The human vessel contains technology that contradicts standard development patterns. Their power generation alone suggests Class 9 civilization capability, yet their hull composition and propulsion indicate they've barely achieved interstellar travel capability. And the weapons? Zex, Thrall demanded. Nith Vera's secondary eyes blinked rapidly in sequence, a sign of extreme distress among the Voth. If the readings are accurate, their secondary defensive arrays alone could neutralize our entire battle group. The energy signatures suggest weapons designed not just for ship-to-ship combat, but for planetary bombardment. The Admiral stopped his pacing, his forearms crossing in the formal posture of serious contemplation. A warrior species, he concluded grimly. One that developed weapons before mastering sustainable energy, before solving basic ecological problems. He gestured toward another display, showing the human cultural package. Look at their history: constant warfare, division, environmental catastrophe. Yet they survived and reached the stars anyway. Anomalous, agreed strategic analyst Kivmore. Most species self-destruct in that phase. The statistical probability of a species developing world-ending weapons and surviving is less than 8%. And now they're here, the Admiral concluded, with enough firepower to challenge the hierarchy's supremacy in this sector. The Voth hierarchy had maintained its dominance across 12,000 years and 300 star systems through a careful balance of technological superiority and cultural assimilation. Emerging species were cataloged, studied, and assigned appropriate roles within the hierarchy based on their capabilities and temperament. Peaceful agrarian species became food producers. Analytical minds were directed toward scientific advancement under careful supervision. Warrior species were either contained or redirected toward the hierarchy's military needs. Humans didn't fit any category. They had developed like predators, but spoke like diplomats. They carried planet-killing weapons but claimed peaceful intentions. Most disturbing of all, they had accelerated through technological stages that should have taken millennia to master. Have they detected our primary battle fleet's approach? Zex, Thrall asked. Unclear, Kivmore replied. Their sensor capabilities exceed our estimates, but the fleet maintains quantum stealth protocols. They should remain undetected until they reach the outer system. Sir, Communications Officer Talveth interrupted. The human captain is requesting to continue diplomatic exchange. Zex Thrall's primary heart quickened. Stall them. I need time for the fleet to arrive. On the UNSS Thunderchild, Captain Maya Rise was reviewing Ariel's analysis of the Voth communication patterns when Commander Erickson approached with a grave expression. Captain, quantum entanglement sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from the Theta 9 corridor. Stealth configuration, but our deep space arrays picked up their quantum wake. Maya nodded, unsurprised. They're calling for reinforcements. Logical move after what they've seen. It's more than reinforcements, Captain. We're detecting at least 60 capital ships, possibly more. This isn't a patrol. It's an armada. Maya's expression remained calm, but her mind raced through strategic calculations. Interesting that a simple exploration vessel would warrant such a response. They're either extremely cautious or extremely threatened. Your orders? Maintain diplomatic channels, but bring all systems to full readiness. No aggressive posture, but I want every weapon system hot and targeting solutions prepared. She paused, considering, and prepare a comprehensive data package on Earth's military history, specifically the concept of mutually assured destruction. Commander Erickson raised an eyebrow. Captain, sometimes the best way to prevent a fight is to make absolutely clear what starting one would cost. Maya explained. The Voth need to understand that humans developed our military technology for a reason. An hour later, Maya faced the holographic projection of Admiral Zek's thrall, studying the alien's four-armed, reptilian form with careful attention to his body language. The translator had been refined to better interpret Voth's speech patterns, but cross-species communication remained challenging. "Admiral," Maya greeted with a respectful nod. "I appreciate this direct communication. I believe we have much to discuss regarding our unexpected meeting." "Indeed, Captain Reyes." The Admiral's voice came through as deep and resonant, his multiple arms performing gestures the translator identified as formal and cautious. "The hierarchy has reviewed your cultural data. Your species presents unusual challenges for classification." Maya smiled slightly. "We often hear that. Humans don't always fit neatly into expected patterns." "Your technological development is concerning," the Admiral continued, his dorsal spines subtly shifting position. "Your species progressed from primitive combustion engines to quantum technology in less than 3 centuries. Such rapid advancement suggests instability or adaptability," Maya countered. "Humanity faced numerous extinction-level challenges throughout our development. We either evolved quickly or perished." "And your weapons?" The Admiral's secondary eyes fixed on her intensely. "Our scans indicate capabilities far beyond defensive requirements." Maya's expression hardened slightly. "Admiral, humanity's history taught us harsh lessons about being unprepared. We developed in a solar system with no other sentient life, fighting only ourselves for millennia. When we reached for the stars, we vowed never to be vulnerable again. Your vessel could destroy entire worlds. And yet we haven't," Maya pointed out. "Despite possessing these capabilities for generations, we've used them only in defense. We've established peaceful relations with 3 other spacefaring species. We build, trade, explore, and yes, we maintain the capability to defend ourselves absolutely." The Admiral's posture shifted, and the translator interpreted increased tension. "The hierarchy cannot permit unregulated species with planet-killing capabilities to operate freely within controlled space. It threatens the stability we've maintained for 12 millennia." "With respect, Admiral," Maya replied firmly, "humanity doesn't recognize your authority to permit or regulate our activities. We're willing to establish diplomatic relations, define borders, even discuss mutual defense agreements, but as equals, not as subjects awaiting classification. That position may prove problematic." The Admiral's tone carried unmistakable threat, even through the translator. "Our reinforcements will arrive within 6 hours. I suggest you reconsider your position before then." "I've noted the approach of your fleet," Maya acknowledged, watching the Admiral's posture stiffen at the revelation that their stealth vessels had been detected. "And I've transmitted information about humanity's military doctrine, specifically a concept called mutually assured destruction. I suggest you review it carefully before considering hostile action." The communication ended shortly after, both sides retreating to assess the deteriorating situation. "They're afraid of us," Commander Erickson observed as the senior officers gathered in the tactical room. "With good reason," Lieutenant Commander Jackson added. "To them, we're an aberration, a species that should have destroyed itself before achieving spaceflight, but somehow survived and grew stronger through conflict." Maya studied the holographic display showing the approaching Voth armée. "Their civilization is built on hierarchy and control. We represent chaos, unpredictable, rapidly evolving, carrying weapons that could challenge their 12,000 years of dominance." "So what's our play, Captain?" asked Tactical Officer Kwan. "That fleet outguns us 60-1, even with our technological edge." Maya's eyes narrowed as she considered their options. "They need to understand that humanity won't be intimidated or controlled, but we also need to prove we're not the threat they fear." She straightened, decision made. "Prepare for active demonstration. I want weapons charged to 20%, enough to show capability without presenting imminent threat." "And if they attack?" Commander Erickson asked quietly. Maya's expression was grim. Then we show them exactly why threatening humanity is the worst mistake they could make. Understanding through strength. The void between the UNSS Thunderchild and the gathering Voth fleet crackled with tension. Admiral Zex Thrall had positioned his 63 warships in a classic encirclement pattern, surrounding the human vessel with overwhelming firepower from every angle. Yet despite the disparity in numbers, an unsettling doubt gnawed at the Admiral's confidence. Analysis of the human data package complete, reported strategic analyst Kiv Moore, her voice carrying unusual emotional harmonics. Their concept of mutually assured destruction is disturbing. For centuries, they maintained peace between their own factions by ensuring that any aggressor would face complete annihilation in retaliation. A primitive approach to diplomacy, the Admiral dismissed. With respect, Admiral, it worked. Kiv Moore's tendrils writhed in agitation. Their historical records show they developed weapons capable of sterilizing their entire planet, stockpiled thousands of them, and yet never used them in conflict because the consequence was too severe. They applied game theory to survival itself. Zex Thrall chittered in frustration. Are you suggesting we should fear a single vessel? I'm suggesting, Kiv Moore replied carefully, that if humans applied the same doctrine to interstellar relations, this vessel may be capable of ensuring that victory against it would be meaningless. Mutual destruction. Before the Admiral could respond, the sensor officer called out urgently, "Energy spike from the human vessel. They're activating weapons systems." Defensive positions. Zex Thrall commanded, his crest fully extended in alarm. "Prepare to." "Wait," interrupted Chief Science Officer Nith Farah. "These readings, it's a controlled activation. Power levels at approximately 1/5 capacity. They appear to be demonstrating rather than preparing to fire." On the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Maya Rice stood calmly as her crew executed her orders with precision. Target that uninhabited moon. Minimal yield, surgical strike. Let's show them exactly what we can do and what we choose not to do. The Thunderchild's forward quantum lance array hummed to life, gathering energy that distorted the very fabric of space around the emitter. With mathematical precision, a concentrated beam of pure energy lanced out, striking the designated moon 400,000 kilometers distant. The impact was spectacular but controlled, a perfect cylinder carved through the lunar surface, penetrating to the core but containing the subsequent explosion to prevent debris from threatening nearby ships. "Message to the Voth flagship," Maya ordered. "Transmit now." Across the void, Admiral Zex Thrall received the human communication as his crew stared in stunned silence at the display, showing the perfectly executed demonstration. "Admiral Zex Thrall." Captain Rice's translated voice came through clearly. "What you just witnessed was our forward array operating at 20% capacity. We could have targeted any vessel in your fleet with similar precision. We did not. Humanity has never initiated conflict with another spacefaring species, despite possessing the capability to do so for generations. We seek cooperation, not domination. We respect strength, but do not worship it. The choice between peaceful relations and mutual destruction remains yours." A heavy silence fell over the Voth command chamber, broken only by the subtle hum of the living ship's systems. The human weapon penetrated crystalline moon material to a depth of 73 kilometers with minimal energy expenditure, Nith Vera reported quietly. "Our strongest shields would offer approximately 3 seconds of resistance against such a weapon at full power." Admiral Zex Thrall's multiple hearts beat in discordant rhythm as he contemplated options that suddenly seemed far less favorable than before. The decision was abruptly postponed as alarm klaxons blared through both fleets simultaneously. "Multiple quantum ruptures detected," shouted the Voth sensor officer. "Unknown configuration. Not human, not hierarchy." On the Thunderchild, Lieutenant Quan reported with urgent professionalism, 17 vessels emerging from quantum space, Captain. Configuration matches no known species in our database. They're emerging in attack formation. The newcomers wasted no time with diplomacy. Their ships, sleek, asymmetrical craft that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, immediately launched devastating energy attacks against both human and Voth vessels. Shields at maximum, Maya commanded. Return fire, defensive pattern Sierra 9, and open a channel to Admiral Zek's thrall. Now. Within moments, the Admiral's image appeared on her communication display, his posture now showing what the translator identified as combat readiness rather than diplomatic formality. Captain Reyes, he acknowledged tersely. It appears we have a common enemy. Agreed, Maya replied without hesitation. I propose temporary cooperation for mutual survival. My tactical officer is transmitting shield harmonics that should help your vessels withstand their energy weapons. The Admiral's pause was brief but noticeable. You would share defensive technology during an active conflict. We would prevent unnecessary deaths when facing an unknown aggressor, Maya corrected. Your call, Admiral. Cooperation or chaos. The battle that followed would be recorded in both human and Voth historical archives as the first Arcturus engagement. The silent attackers, later identified as the Scourge, a nomadic predator species that harvested technologies from conquered civilizations, had expected to find two powers on the brink of conflict, vulnerable and divided. Instead, they encountered an impromptu alliance that showcased the strengths of both species. The Voth's biomechanical ships moved with organic fluidity, adapting to damage in real time, while the Thunderchild demonstrated weapon systems that left even battle-hardened Voth commanders in awe. Captain Reyes coordinated with Admiral Zek's thrall, implementing a complex battle strategy that leveraged the Voth's superior numbers alongside human technological edge. 3 hours later, the remaining Scourge vessels retreated through quantum ruptures, leaving behind the wreckage of 7 of their ships and 3 damaged Voth cruisers. The Thunderchild had sustained moderate damage to its outer hull, but remained fully operational. In the aftermath, Admiral Zek's thrall requested permission to board the human vessel, not for inspection, but for direct diplomatic talks. Maya granted it, welcoming the Admiral and his senior staff to the Thunderchild's conference room with formal Earth diplomatic protocols. Your vessel performed impressively, the Admiral acknowledged, studying the room with all 4 eyes. And your tactical coordination saved many Voth lives today. Cooperation tends to be more effective than conflict, Maya responded, offering the ceremonial drink that Ariel had confirmed was compatible with Voth biology. Perhaps this encounter, while unexpected, offers an opportunity to establish understanding between our peoples. You must understand our concern, the Admiral said, his translator conveying earnestness. In 12,000 years of expansion, we have never encountered a species that developed as yours has. Most self-destruct through warfare or environmental collapse during the development phase. You somehow survived. Maya nodded. Humanity came close to that fate many times. We learned our harshest lessons through suffering. Admiral, we built weapons that could destroy worlds because we nearly destroyed our own. We value peace precisely because we understand war so intimately. A predator species that chose restraint, the Admiral mused, his secondary eyes blinking in sequence as he processed the concept. Fascinating. We're explorers by nature, Maya explained. We seek knowledge, connection, understanding. But we never forget the cost of being defenseless. The weapons you fear exist because we vowed never again to face extinction. The Admiral's posture shifted to what the translator identified as thoughtful consideration. The hierarchy has maintained stability through careful management of technological development across hundreds of species. Your approach, allowing unlimited advancement while depending on restraint, contradicts everything we believe about galactic security. And yet it works, Maya pointed out gently. Humans have possessed planet-killing technology for centuries without using it in aggression. We've established peaceful relations with every spacefaring species we've encountered, until today. Until today, the Admiral agreed, a new tone entering his voice. when we misjudged and nearly provoked the very conflict we sought to prevent. A common enough mistake, Maya acknowledged. Fear often leads to poor decisions. On Earth, we have a saying, "You have nothing to fear from a strong neighbor who seeks peace, but everything to fear from a weak one who doesn't." Admiral Zex Thrall contemplated this for a long moment before responding. The Hierarchy Council will require time to adjust its thinking regarding humanity. 12 millennia of successful expansion makes change difficult. Understandable. Maya agreed. We don't ask you to abandon your beliefs or systems, only to consider that there may be multiple paths to galactic stability. And what does humanity seek from this interaction? The Admiral asked directly. Maya smiled. The same thing we've always sought. Admiral, knowledge, cooperation, and the freedom to chart our own course among the stars. We have much to learn from a civilization as ancient as yours, and perhaps some perspectives to offer in return. As the diplomatic discussions continued, the Thunderchild sensors monitored the Voth fleet, now positioned in a protective, rather than threatening formation around the damaged vessels. The first tentative steps toward understanding had been taken, not through submission or domination, but through mutual respect born of demonstrated strength and restraint. The universe, Maya reflected, rarely rewarded weakness. Humanity had learned that lesson on Earth through millennia of conflict, carried that knowledge to the stars, and now found it validated in their first encounter with the Voth. Peace was not the absence of strength, but its most disciplined expression. The Voth had scanned a human warship and discovered not just advanced weapons, but a species that had mastered the greatest challenge of all, the power to destroy worlds coupled with the wisdom not to use it. They had expected barbarians and found philosopher warriors instead, a civilization that had turned the crucible of its violent evolution into a foundation for peaceful exploration. It was a lesson the Voth, and any species that encountered humanity, would not soon forget.